Welcome back, sixth graders, to Minnesota Studies. It's great to see you again. What is today's question? Do you know how to use a scale? No, not that scale. Gross, not this kind either. Geo, get off the wall. Yes, some of you can scale the wall. This is more like it. Do you know how to use it on a map? One way is to use a piece of paper to make your map scale. And most maps have scales that convert centimeters or inches to kilometers or miles. In this case, the map scale is on the lower left-hand corner of this map. And this is what it looks like close up and will be the one we are using today. The first step is to trace the map scale on paper. Mark the distance you're using, in this case, miles. So if you transferred this makeshift map scale over to the actual map, and let's say you put the 0 on Minneapolis and lined it up to New Richmond, Wisconsin, it would look like it's approximately 40 miles in a straight line. So how do we make a paper scale for a longer distance, for longer distances, or a larger map? Well, you need a longer strip of paper, of course. There are other ways to do this too. Another method is to use a string. But in this case today we are going to use paper. So what you'll do is transfer lines from the map scale to the paper, and then you need to slide your paper over and continue making marks on the paper with the same 20-mile increment. So after transferring the scale, slide your paper over, repeat it, and then keep counting up. And next, I will demonstrate live. So here I have started marking up to 60 miles. And what I'm going to do, once I've made my 60 miles, I'm going to slide this over, and I'll keep making marks. So notch, 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 notch. I'm not going to actually mark the rest of the miles yet because I don't want to get confused. Not hard for me to do. I'm just going to keep making my notches till I'm at the edge of my paper. And it's important that I'm using the mile marker, not the kilometer marker, unless I wanted to mark in kilometers. So notch, notch, notch. And I'll go as far as I possibly can. Let's just say, I guess that's the end. So this was 60 miles. What I'm going to do now is just count up by 20s. So 60, 80. All right, this is the actual assignment you will be using, and you'll be making your new scale on the side of this paper. Now here's how this assignment is going to work. You have 4 columns here. The left column is where you're going to write the name of the city when you mark it out and find it on the map. You're going to write how many actual miles it was using a straight line. This is part 1. And if we get to it today for part 2, you'll then estimate the actual distance, and part 3 is you'll use the map app to look up the actual distance. But let's just keep with part 1. Here are the cities that you're going to be looking for. So we got Rochester, Austin, Mankato, Worthington, Granite Falls, Fargo, and a number of others. And you're going to be looking for these in a counterclockwise fashion, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So since your first one is Rochester, what I want you to do is find the distance from Minneapolis to Rochester. So your starting point is always going to be right here for Minneapolis. So how far is Minneapolis to Rochester? Well, we're going to put the 0 mark on Minneapolis and find out where the scale lands on Rochester. So I marked it already on the map. Here's the dot for Minneapolis, and then here is one for Rochester. You'll notice that it's actually, it's like a circle with a dot in it that indicates that it's a larger city. So if you look into the legend right here, you'll notice that these are considered other cities or towns. And then this is, actually the county seat. So, all right, back to Minneapolis and Rochester. Trying to figure out how to get this autofocus working. All right, so I'm going to put my 0 on Minneapolis, about right there, and my Rochester is about right there. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this as best as I can. All right. And so it looks like Rochester is falling just shy of 80. I'm going to actually make a mark on my map right there, and then I'm going to transfer it across, and I will write Rochester. And you'll notice the mark is by 20, so here's 60, so here's 80. Halfway would be, between the two would be 70. This is almost 80, so maybe I could just estimate and say 75 miles. So using this paper map scale, Minneapolis to Rochester is approximately 75 miles. So I'm going to write a 75 right there. My next town is going to be Austin. And to help you find these cities, we're going in a clockwise fashion. So we're going to kind of move this direction for all those cities. So Austin is going to be this way. So there it is. So I'm going to try to line up Minneapolis on the 0. And then find Austin, which is the marker about right there. Okay, and I will make a mark. And I'll bring it all the way across, and then I'm going to write Austin. All right, and then I'll continue my line. Now Austin being right there, it's about right between 80 and 100, so that's 90, so I will write 90. It's making sense? So we did Rochester, Austin. Next one is Mankato. So we're going in a clockwise fashion around the state. Here is Mankato. So I will make a little pointer there. So Mankato to Minneapolis. Put my 0 mark. You could actually put the 0 mark on either city. In this case, I'll just put it on Mankato, and then I'll find out where Minneapolis bumps into it. So between there, it's about, looks like Minneapolis is showing up almost halfway between the 60 and 80. So I will make a mark right there, draw it across. Between 60 and 80, let's see, Mankato. And I'm going to say just, I don't know, I'll just estimate to about 70. All right, so what I want you to do is continue this procedure and look for the rest of these towns. So we've got Rochester, Austin, Mankato worked out. Then we're going to do the rest of these cities: Worthington, Granite Falls, Fargo, Grand Forks, Hallock, International Falls, Virginia, Duluth, Stillwater. Guess which one of these you'll use almost the whole side of this paper for. So yes, you will use the whole edge of this paper. And our next lesson will be estimating the actual miles. Because we're using a straight line, do you think that's how many miles it would be if you took a drive? And not exactly, because if you look, for example, Minneapolis to Rochester, it's kind of curving. It's not a straight line. So if this map scale is saying 75 miles, but there's a bunch of curves in there, do you think it's actually 75? No. It'll probably be a little bit more. So I will talk to you in the next lesson about how to estimate. And then, so that's this section here, and then you'll actually use the map app once you've completed the straight line miles, your estimate, to find out what is the actual road distance there. All right, you will be working with a partner today and learning about distances in map scale for a number of cities from Minneapolis today, and I look forward to helping you out, and good learning.